There goes Frankie and Amanda. And you know what? So that was Amanda. I had just gotten out of my camper van, a little Toby hooked up with her dog, Frank, and we started a conversation. And what I noticed right away in that conversation, because God gives me his Jesus eyes, is that she had tattoos. And one tattoo actually was right here on her leg. And I couldn't see what it said, and I said, what is that? And right away she said, when I was 14 years old, I went through a very dark time, and I wrote a poem, and I actually had it tattooed to my leg. Was right here on her leg. And I couldn't see what it said, and I said, what is that? And right away she said, when I was 14 years old, I went through a very dark time, and I wrote a poem, and I actually had it tattooed to my leg. Now here's the thing, when she was reciting it from memory, it was really powerful. It was about finding her own tribe and finding her own identity. And if she couldn't, she knew that she had the breath of the Lord to breathe into her and help her. And I was just like, wow. I said, that's powerful. She says, yeah, I actually had it years later published in a magazine. And she says, but the Lord really has helped me through a lot of dark times. And I said, I didn't get to know the Lord till I was well in my 40s. And I said, you see that's my camper van, and I'm a missionary now, and I get to tell people all day long about the Lord. She said, oh, that's so cool. I said, well, what's cool is that you knew the Lord early on, and I had a lot of brokenness, and I couldn't fill all those voids, and I tried to do this and that, and the standard was never a standard that I could meet until I found the Lord. And I said, the thing that I discovered with the Lord is that I am precious, that I am valuable, that I am priceless, that I am the daughter of the Most High. And she's listening to me. She's like, yeah. And I said, so now he gives me this ministry where, I meet people. And I said, there are no coincidences. And she says, oh, yeah, I know there's no coincidence. And then when I said that, then I got the strong impression that I needed to give her a desire of ages. Now, I didn't know if I had a desire of ages or not, but the Lord knew. So I ran back to the camper van, and I'm looking through the box of books. No desire of ages. I go in the front. There it is, just sitting on the top. So I'm like, well, this is it. So I go over there, and I hand her the book, and she's like, you want to give me this? I said, yeah. No. I said, no, I don't want to give this to you. The Lord wants to give it to you. And she's like, oh, wow. And I said, when I said that there's no coincidence, and I know you get that, but my ministry is the Lord will bring me to people at the right place at the right time. He knows who to bring. He puts in my mouth the words. I don't even know what I'm going to say. Because I said, I don't know you, but he knows you. He knows what you need. I don't know what you need. So whatever I've said has come from the Lord. And I guess today is your day. I said, what is your name? She says, Amanda. I said, well, can I pray for you? And she says, yeah. So we ended up praying. And when I was done, she showed me, and you could tell she was clearly overwhelmed. When we were done, she showed me another tattoo on her leg. It was a huge tattoo, like way on the side of her leg. And it had a skeleton in it. It was kind of gruesome, and all these flowers. And she says, yeah, my mom hates that tattoo. And but I got it after my sister died. And as soon as she said that, you could tell she started choking up. She couldn't even say that without choking up. And she says, but I think it's a beautiful tattoo. And I said, you know what? You know what I see? I see dry bones coming to life. From ashes, from dust to ashes, from ashes to dust. No, from beauty to ashes. That's what I said, from beauty to ashes. That's what the Lord can do with those dry bones. I said, do you know that he breathes life into the dry bones? And that at the resurrection, you're going to see her? And right now she's just resting in the Lord? She says, yeah. She says, that's awesome. I said, I know, it is awesome, isn't it? So I said, that's what I see. And then she said, well, my mom actually really hates that tattoo that I have on my leg, my poem. She said, when I got it, my mom was not happy, and she's apparently religious. And she says she still don't like it. And I said, well, I tell you what, you tell her this. And this was not me. I said, you know that the Lord, he has a tattoo. He's got scars in his hands. And I said, think about this. That tattoo on your leg is like the scars that Jesus has in his hands. That's your scar. That's your wound. I said, that is your testimony. And it's on your leg. Just like Jesus has to always carry the scars in his hands, you'll always have that on your leg. But it's your testimony. You can use it. And it glorifies God. And she looked at me, she's like, oh. She's like, I never thought about that. I'm like, well, I'm thinking, I don't know where that came from. And she said, I'm going to tell my mother. And I said, and then she said, yeah. She says, you came up to me and it was because of the tattoo. You started talking. I said, yeah, you see? That's your testimony right there on your leg. So never, I mean, really, it's like never think that that's not part of you. And it's a good thing now because it's a testimony. So isn't God good? God is amazing. God is amazing. And so when she left, she walked over to her car with the book and she got in it, but she didn't leave. She didn't leave. And I knew that because she didn't leave, she probably was looking at that book. So I just want to leave you with this. How much Jesus loves us, right? How much does the Lord love us? He loves us so much. He loves us so much that look at how he can use us, broken instruments, to reach a person, a certain person, at the perfect time in their life, to intersect, to deliver a message. Pretty cool, huh?